World Wide Web web surfers. Mark here at WhiskyWhistle, your wise choice in independent whiskey and spirits reviews, bringing you whiskey review number 238. That's going to be Colonel E.H. Taylor Straight Rye, 50% ABV, apparently round about 4 years old, and this comes from the Buffalo Trace Distillery. This sample was donated by Ms. Val Bradshaw. Ms. Bradshaw, thank you very much for all of your wonderful samples as I drop that one. Now I've got to pry that off. Again, I forgot about that. There we go. Alright, so Colonel E.H. Taylor Straight Rye. Let's get that poured. Now just a small sample, that's about 15 milliliters I would say. Just enough to give it a good review. Now let's check out the color first of all. Then we'll have a look at the legs, followed by the nosing, the tasting, and the finish of the whiskey. After that, we'll give it a WhiskyWhistle whiskey score. Alright, well let's have a look at the color first of all. Now what do you see there? That's got quite a dark shade. That's well beyond gold, into the coppery end of things. And of course, as an American straight rye whiskey, they've used new charred barrels, which will impart a lot more color than the ones they use in other parts of the world. What a shade that is. That is like polished oak, perhaps a polished, I don't know, like a polished cherry, cherry hardwood perhaps. A very rich color. Okay, let's have a look at the legs of the whiskey. Colonel E.H. Taylor, this is a first for me. I'm really excited about this. Very excited. You know, out here in Korea, there are very few straight ryes. There's also very few even straight bourbons that are available. I can say that's probably there's about 2 or 3 that you can find almost anywhere. And those are the big brands like Jack Daniel's and Jim Beam. Wild Turkey also. But anything else you have to look high and low for, and it's very hard to find. Now, okay. Alright, there are the legs for Colonel E.H. Taylor Straight Rye Whiskey. Fairly brisk actually. And still hang on the glass quite a bit though, doesn't it? Okay, well let's get into the nosing then. Oh, that's an intense rye scent. And yet also very sweet. Now you might be wondering the mash bill for this straight rye whiskey. However, the maker, who is Buffalo Trace, they don't release their mash bills, so they keep them secret, so that's interesting. As a straight rye, then it's at least 51%. Now I would say that this is probably more like around about 70-75% rye. And then some amount of corn, and then a little bit of barley, malted barley also. Now, I mentioned I'm smelling something very sweet, and it's presenting itself kind of like pears, also some navel oranges. But the rye, boy, you really can't get away from that minty aspect, very minty. Very herbal, but it's very sweet. So this is telling me that it's probably a little bit lower than some other straight rye whiskeys. It's not 100%. It's not 90. I don't think it's 80. I think it's in the 70 range. Now, no question, it's still rye. Now, the other cool thing about this whiskey is that it's actually bottled in bond. Bottled in bond means that the whiskey was produced in a single season. It was made at a single distillery. Oh, and it's been aged in a federally bonded warehouse for at least 4 years and bottled at 100 proof. So it actually kind of doubles the straight rye qualification. Straight means minimum of 2 years. Bottled in bond is a minimum of 4 years. Straight can be 40%, bottled and bond must be 50%. You know, you're getting a lot more with a bottled and bond product. All right, well, it's time to get into the palate, isn't it? Cheers, everybody. Now, at 50%, it's very, very drinkable. It's also very sweet. Little bit of that mint, not a whole lot. You know, it might even be only about 60% rye. It's possible. I'm still getting oranges and pears. I'm getting lots of vanilla, lots of cinnamon. The rye spice also. It's got a bit of that pepperiness to it. And maybe like a little hint of something like saddle leather. If you walk into a leather, like a saddle, what's that kind of a store called where they sell stuff for horses? The longer you keep it in your mouth, the more dry it gets. The finish is also very long, spicy, sweet, crisp apples, underripe pears, a little bit of that navel orange flavor as well. Not an especially great amount of that mintiness that I would expect from a straight rye, but it's got a lot of other things going on. This is a bourbon lover's rye. Let's try adding just a little bit of water. Did I pour this all in? Come on, come on. Get in there. Okay. With water on the nose, not much has changed, but it's actually a little bit more earthy. Maybe a little bit more of the rye also. It seems slightly drier. Cheers again. Absolutely more mint now with water added. That really enhanced the rye. That's really interesting. What a wonderful whiskey. Wish I had more of it, but you know what? This is what I'll tell you. For me anyway, this exceeds what Lot 40 does, the Canadian rye. And if I were to compare the Jack Daniel's single barrel rye and this one, I would say that this is the hands down winner. It's much smoother. It tastes like it's much older. It's probably the same age, but there's something about that, the maturation, the warehousing, the spirit or the cask that has lended itself to coming off as something much older than just 4 years. Anyway, so the WhiskyWhistle Whiskey score for Colonel E.H. Taylor, E.H. Taylor's straight rye, 50% ABV, that's going to be 89 out of 100. Yes, 89 out of 100 is the WhiskyWhistle Whiskey score for E.H. Taylor straight rye, 50% ABV, bottled and bond, all of the goodies. It's also natural in color, if I didn't mention that. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you stay tuned for the next one. That's going to be this one. It's going to be Old Crow, a very old crow from a long, long time ago. When is it from? Nobody knows. It's 1/10 of a pint. if that tells you. And this, I think, well, it says litro. This may have been made for the, it's not Italian. Italian? You know, who knows? Anyway, aged 6 years, 80 proof. Distilled and bottled under supervision of the government of the United States of America. Thank goodness. All right, well, stay tuned for that one. Hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching Whiskey Whistle. Be sure to subscribe, and don't forget to give this video a like, and leave a comment down below. Be sure to stay tuned next time to join me, the host of the show, Mark, as I explore more whiskeys with you. Take care now, and we'll see you next time.